Today I'm going to be checking out the Rekon FPV5, or Rekon as Dave C calls it. So Dave C FPV, who designed the AndyRC with Flywoo, so the long-range 4-inch model, has got his own brand. He calls it Rekon, but I think Rekon makes more sense. And this is a 5-inch version that he has released along with HLRC. Now there's no HLRC branding on here, but this is very much HLRC components on here. And there's lots of different versions of it actually. This is the HD DJI Vista version, and at the making of this video it costs about £245. This is the PMP version, so I'm hoping that it binds directly to my DJI transmitter. But you can also get it with a FlySky FS-A8S-V2 receiver, an RXSR receiver, an XM Plus receiver, which all of those aren't long-range receivers, so I'm not sure who would go for that, but you know, you can just use this as a freestyle copter if you fancy that, because it's lightweight, and the TBS Crossfire Nano. You can buy it in lots of other different configurations actually. This is the 6S version with 1800 kV motors, and there's a 4S version. You can buy a version without motors at all if you want to put your own motors on it, and there's an analog version of course as well, which looks pretty tasty actually, because a lot of these long-range analog versions of these quadcopters, they don't have a very powerful VTX, but the analog one of this has 800 milliwatts. But if you really want to do the long range thing, then you can't go wrong with the DJI Vista. You'll get much more range out of it, and of course it's HD FPV. The analog version's going to be lighter than this one as well, but it's funny because this is a 5-inch model with the props off. It feels more like a micro. Let's see what else we have in the box. I like how it's stored in the box here. So we have got some of these propellers. They are the 3-blade gem fan. So that's interesting. Yeah, they're the ones that have got the adapter in for a screw to go through the middle. Now, if you really want to do long range, then bi-blades are the best way to go. And it might be interesting to see whether the 4-inch bi-blades of the AndyRC would suit well on here. We've got much bigger stator motors here, but that's what they've gone with, a tri-blade, a low-pitched tri-blade, but you're still going to get longer flight times out of a bi-blade, but perhaps there isn't a bi-blade that exists that has got this screw adapter mechanism yet. Or maybe there is by now, I don't know. So we've got some screws in here as well. This looks like an adapter for a naked GoPro. Yes, yes, HLRC. Oh, the amount of, you know, quadcopters that are being released for a naked GoPro. In fact, this one isn't really. I mean, it's going to benefit from it because it's going to be lighter, and they don't include the mount. That is fantastic. And I believe you can buy separately a SMO mount as well. That's all of the bolts and things in there for that. Absolutely superb. So I wonder whether I can use this connector. No, it doesn't reach. I think that is for a receiver, but I wonder if I can reroute it and make a connector up for the naked GoPro. That'd be interesting. Now we've got these arm braces here, so that is to give a bit of strength in a crash, because you know these can move. Interesting system here with these huge bolts that keep these on. Looks like you could stick like a penny in there and twist them. So that's interesting. We've got some more screws, and we have got, let's see, just 2 HLRC battery straps, and this looks like a wiring diagram for the electronics. So not a manual, so you're going to have to be accustomed with Betaflight to get it going, probably, but there's a schematic there for if you want to play with the connections. Alrighty, so it looks really lightweight. Now, I do like how this comes off here, but you do have to be really careful leaving it like that, because I've had an instance with the AndyRC actually, where I left this out here, and I actually ripped the connector off this end, so I keep it in there now so that that doesn't happen. I mean, these are fairly cheap, but you know, it was a pain when it happened. So the reason I've gone for the DJI PMP version, I really hope that this is already connected and I can just use my transmitter, is because with these long-range quadcopters and the DJI transmitter, everything comes down this antenna here, and these antennas are superb. They should be on all aircraft, never mind just these long-range ones, because no matter which way you are facing, you get fantastic video reception. But as the DJI transmission system uses this antenna as well, you get great range from the transmitter. Now, the Crossfire version has got sort of an antenna mod here, which you have to sort of bend round, and it sort of stands up vertical like that, but you know, you have to sort of tuck it underneath if you're taking off like that, and you have to bend it back for storage. Not ideal as well, because you know, if you leave it on its side, then the entire of the quadcopter is in the way when your transmission is coming from this side. So it looks really lightweight. Let's see how much it actually weighs. So that is 200 grams on the nose. I can remember when 220 grams was unheard of when it came to a 5-inch quadcopter. We don't have the props on though, so let's see if I can start stacking stuff up. You know, the bag's not going to weigh that much, so that's 216 grams, and a racer, a lightweight racer back in the day would be 220 grams like this, so it's lighter than that, and it's a top mount battery. That's pretty incredible. Of course, it's not going to be as fast as those racers with these tiny motors, but the fact that it's got a Vista in there rather than just an analog VTX, that's pretty incredible, that is. So now let's see what it'd be like with the mount for the naked GoPro. So that is 226 grams. Yeah, that's about as heavy as the lightest lightweight 5-inch racer that I built on the channel, analog of course, some time ago. Now when it comes to the batteries for this guy, it's a little more complicated, because this is the 6S version, and they recommend an 850 milliamp 4S battery all the way up to a 1500 milliamp 4S battery, and there is a huge weight difference between those battery ranges, so it'd be interesting to see how the thing would fly on a heavier battery. But as this is the 6S version, they are recommending a 550 milliamp 6S, which is the watt-hour equivalent of an 850 milliamp hour 4S, but then all the way up to a 1300 milliamp 6S, which I don't think is a watt-hour equivalent of a 1500 4S. I think a 1050 milliamp 6S is almost the watt-hour equivalent. So what I'm going to try is an 850 milliamp 6S to start off with, because I can't do long range with this guy at the moment due to COVID protocols. I can only fly this on the little field outside my house, so I'll do another video where I do lots of different experiments with this. That's why I've gone for the 6S, and I'll explain that in a moment. But can I read what that says? I think it says 375 grams, so well over 250 grams, but actually extremely lightweight for a 5-inch model. And can I get the naked GoPro on there? That is 404 grams. The LR Explorer is 190 grams with the naked GoPro and without a battery, so this one is going to be a lighter setup, probably mostly because of the motors and the frame being a bit bigger. Speaking of the motors, they are HLRC branded, however they are actually made by RC InPower. And we are going backwards with motors, which I like, because I've always said that we went far too extreme with motors. So this one has got a 20mm diameter stator, so that's the copper windings inside, not including the bell, and the height is 4mm, which is unusual because it's only an inch bigger on the prop. And if we compare that to the LR4 Explorer, those ones are a 14mm stator, a 1404. So these ones have a much wider diameter, but not much bigger prop. And also what I find interesting as well, and we're in uncharted territory, well, for me at least anyways, this is the 6S version, and these are 1800 kV, and the 4S version is 3000 kV. Now that seems quite excessive to me, 3000 kV on a wide stator motor but not a tall stator motor. And I've played around with 2204 motors with high kV, and I found that they couldn't really get to that high RPM because there wasn't enough torque. The motor wasn't tall enough. So 3000 kV I find an unusual choice, but I went for the 6S version because I can put a 6S battery on it and get a equivalency watt hour of the 4S RPM, but I can also put a 4S battery on here and see how it performs, see if we can get better performance out of it, longer range and less voltage sag, because if we can reach 3000 RPM, which it won't because kV and RPM isn't equivalent when there is a prop on the top, then that could cause quite a lot of voltage sag. But of course, the other reason I got the 6S version is because I have got this. This is a full send from iFlight. It's a VTC 6S lithium ion 3000 milliamp pack, so that might be interesting to go on there. And if that is too heavy, then I've also got one of these as well. This is the 4S 3000 milliamp hour version that everyone uses on the 4S version. The problem that I've got is they are using an XT60 connector, and most of the battery sizes that they are recommending, you know, from 550 milliamp to 850 milliamp, they have got a XT30 connector on them. And my worry is that if this is going to be drawing a lot of current, then, you know, this might bottleneck the system. What I do have, and they're only ones that I have really, these are some 650 milliamp 6S batteries, and they do have an XT60 connector on there, so that might actually be a better suit for this one. The stack is really beefy when it comes to specs. It is HLRC's own Zeus 30 amp BL Halley 3 to 6S input 4-in-1 ESC, and then the flight controller is an F7, so the Zeus F722 mini flight controller, so that's quite impressive specs. Then of course we have got the Cadex Vista here mounted at the back, and the camera is the Nebula Pro, so it's the camera that is almost the same quality as the DJI camera, it's just a little bit lighter. The only thing that is concerning me here is how the camera is mounted. I'm pretty sure, yeah, look at that, the entire camera is mounted in TPU, so we might get a bit of Jallo from that, and it's not very sunny today as well, so might have to come back to that to see if we get Jallo, because Jallo for me ruins the HD experience, and I thought they got it nailed with the LR Explorer. It's in metal there, and it's the original DJI camera, and it doesn't move at all. No Jallo, perfect mounting, so that's the only thing that I'm looking at the moment. Then I just love these bolts underneath there, fantastic. Gives such a sort of rigid feeling to the thing. So we've got one of these self-powered beepers, and it's in a very nice TPU case actually. They always catch me out though, so it's got like a little 1S battery in there, and if you lose it anywhere and you lose the transmission and the battery, so if the battery disconnects, then the beeper will go off for, I think it's like a few hours, you know, it depends on the make of them. But if you do find it or land back, I always forget to press the button and it goes off. It's very loud, so make sure you're not working on this late at night, because I've done that many times and made a lot of people unhappy. We've got a GPS module on the back here. I'm not too fond of the cable tie keeping it in. I think they could have come up with a better solution than that. Maybe it's just, you know, for extra safety. I mean, there's a plug on there, so it's not really going to go anywhere if it falls out. But there you go. Now, what I am finding interesting is we do not have any shielding from the GPS to the flight controller. So this has been a big problem with these, and it was a problem with this as well, and Flywheel actually fixed it on their Hex. If you look at the underneath of the Hex Explorer, I think they called it, the wires from the GPS unit have got a copper shielding around it, and it's also soldered to a ground on, I think that is the ESCs, and no problem with satellites on this one. Absolutely brilliant. However, this one pretty much unusable in this form, and the diatone, was it called the Roma long range, that one's got the same problem as well, and I think this one is going to. So it's noise from the Vista that is interfering with getting the GPS signal. So, I mean, you know, it's something that can be fixed, but you'd have to take it all apart. Now, to be fair, I don't use the GPS function on these whatsoever. I don't think it's reliable enough. You know, Betaflight say themselves that, you know, it's sort of like in beta phase anyways. And you shouldn't be relying on this, I don't think. We need better Betaflight GPS implementation before you can rely on this. People will say, oh no, I've set it up and it's working fine. That's absolutely fair enough. You know, you can stick it on the ground 200 meters away and, you know, remove the prop so that it doesn't take off and see if your return to home works. But for me, it's just, you know, it flies back and then you get control back randomly, hopefully when your video has come back, and it's just not good enough for me. What I did find useful was the information that the GPS gave back, so how high you are, how far away you are, your speed and things like that. That was brilliant. Of course, with the DJI system you can't record that information, so you know, it's just something nice to have while you are flying. We've got an anti-slip mat here all the way along the top of the frame, which is going to stop our battery from slipping in a crash. And we've got these two antennas here which won't have anything in them at the moment, so I should be able to just take these out and use the DJI control system. Okay, so here we are in the Betaflight configurator. The quadcopter's plugged in and there's nothing showing in the COM port. We must have a conflict, so if I come into here and type in device manager and then come down here, yeah, so we have got this COM port here. We need to update the driver, browse from a list and go for this one, yeah, close, COM3, let's connect to it. It's flashed with Betaflight version 4.2, fairly recent, but I think we're coming up to 4.3 at some point in the future. Wow, we've got a lot of UARTs here, haven't we? So we've got the Vista MSP on UART 4, then we have got the GPS on UART 2, leaving UART 3 free, and then we have got the Serial RX on UART 1, so some stuff to play about there. GPS, that's interesting, the baud rate there set to 4, but I'm gonna leave that as it is. Going to configurations here, so we've got a props out configuration. That's important to note because the props are off. And we've got D-Shot 600 and motor stop off. We have got RPM filtering enabled. That's interesting and a good thing, I would say. 8K, 8K, so yeah, our CPU load very low, so should be fine, I guess. I thought it was 8K, 4K for RPM filtering, but they're 32-bit ESCs and an F7 flight controller, so that's probably why, because it's an F7. Yeah, some board alignment correction there, 180. I love how every quad comes with this is 180 now. I think I'm a bit responsible for that because I always change this from 25 to 180 and now they all come with that. Yeah, you ever got stuck in a tree and had this at 25? You cannot wiggle it out, but you can at 180, but it'll take your fingers off if you arm it while carrying it, so be careful. So we've got S-Bus here, which is correct for the DJI transmitter. That's interesting. Air mode off. We've got GPS on here, so yeah, just looking at all of the settings, set to auto config. Have we got GPS showing? No, probably not because the battery's not plugged in. I would stick on air mode there, but they might have air mode in the mode section set up separately. So yeah, of course, so it's got the physical beeper, so we don't want D-shot commands on there, so everything is fine there. The only thing I'll be looking at changing here is to have air mode all of the time, but that is, you know, that's my preference. Let's go into the power and battery. I'm just going to turn this to 3.3 in case we get any voltage sag. PID tuning, let's have a look here. So PID profile 1. Yeah, so we've got different PIDs on the first profile, I think. Yeah, that's good. I have to try those out. But, you know, it'd have been interesting, actually, if they're saying, right, you can use it with an 850 milliamp hour battery or a 1300 milliamp hour battery. That's going to affect the tune. So it would have been nice if they'd have had, you know, they could have said 850 and they could have said, you know, 1000, 1300, but we've just got the one. Rate profile, let's take a look. These just going to be stock rates. Yeah, it looks like it. So if we go on to profile 1, just put my rates in here. 16, 16, and 16. Receiver, so AETR for my DJI transmitter. Ignore this, this is just because my DJI transmitter is mode 1. Mine goes ATER like that. Oops, ATER. RSSI channel disabled, yes, because I'm using the DJI system. I like to put 7 in the dead zone there on the DJI transmitter. It's a little bit loose around the center. I think I need to calibrate it again, to be honest, but yeah, we'll stick that as that for now. In the modes tab, so we've got arm in on auxiliary 1. I'll just move that over there, and it's also got acro, angle. Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? Was that there? So yes, strange. This is how I have it set up, so we are going to have that there, and I always get this wrong. I think that is on the auxiliary 2 on my DJI transmitter, and angle is on 1, and GPS rescue, okay, yes, I didn't look at GPS stuff, did I? Okay, I'm gonna have to plug in my transmitter to get that working. Air mode, yeah, let's just get rid of air mode. I think they've gotten rid of air mode. Nah, I don't know why they've done that. So let's get rid of air mode. That's all that they have got there. Let's just save that, and you have to go into, is it expert mode, to look for the GPS stuff. So it's fail-safe. What have they got it set to? So they... Oh, okay, so allow arming without fix, GPS rescue will not be available. But then they've got GPS rescue selected there. I'm just going to set it to drop because I don't trust GPS rescue, and I don't have the space at the moment to go and, you know, have it 200 meters away. If I put this 200 meters away, someone is going to nab it around here. So let's set it to drop, and you have to save and reboot for that. I'm going to bind everything up and check out the modes because that's going to be the best way forward. But before I bind everything up, I am going to update the Vista because it probably needs it. So let's plug him in, and if I just like grab one of these random batteries and make sure that everything is fine. Then this should plug into here. Might take a few seconds. There we go. So it's recognized the air unit, but it needs activating. So I'm going to do that now. Otherwise, if I bind everything up, I might have to rebind it after I've done that, because you do an update as well. So here we go. Let's do the update. This is the problem with the DJI stuff. It's first world problems, but if you don't do it in this scenario, you'll bind everything up, update it, activate it, and it needs binding again. I mean, maybe they fixed that, I don't know. But it's best to do this. And another thing as well is, if you bind the controller first to this and then to the goggles, then it will lose the bind from the controller. You have to do the goggles, then the controller. Okay, let's get this guy bound up. We've got the fans all going and the devices. So we want to do the goggles first. So you see that light there, little red light? Probably not. It's gone green. We press the button on the side there and it goes red. Then cocktail stick. Make sure that it's non-conductive, which it's fine for this side, but a cocktail stick, it does the job. Just have to wait till it goes dee-dee. There you go, you see. So that should have a picture through here now. And then we are going to bind this one up. I always forget this one. I think it's that button, and then press that in. Yeah, and we get a blue light on here. And then press this button again. And we're bound up. I can go back into beta flight and sort my modes out. Make sure you keep the props off. Alrighty, Roo, let's take a look at the modes. So I want to arm it on this switch. I'm just going to do auto. So that is the aux one. I'm going to do auto. I want it on that one. So it's the aux 4 and GPS rescue. Let's have GPS rescue on whatever this one is. So it's the aux 3. Has it not got a beeper setup? Oh, come on, man. Okay. We need to have a beeper setup for just if we lose it in general as well. So we need to add range, and let's have the beeper go over here. And then auto again, and I like to have beeper on that one. There we go. That's what you get. So that's everything set up there. Let's go into the receiver tab and see if everything is showing correctly. Yeah, so I got my channel map all correct. There we go. Yeah, absolutely fine there. So anything in GPS? It shouldn't be picking anything up, but it says GPS up the top there now, but we don't have anything. I'm not confident about the GPS. Let's check out the on-screen display. Whoa! This looks like analog placement to me. So the DJI on-screen display, you have to play around with it, and that just looks like, you know, the normal display. So these might be all over the place in the DJI goggles, and that is a shame. Turn the warnings off, timer 2, throttle position, home distance, so all the GPS stuff, craft name, battery voltage, average battery voltage. I don't like using that. Yeah, that's fine, I'll go with that, but I think it's going to be all over the screen. If it is, I might just turn it off, because I don't think it's going to be that useful. One last thing, I need to make sure that air mode is permanently turned on, otherwise it's not going to fly very nice, and that is the Betaflight setup. Unfortunately, this cable here is connected up to the 5 volt and for an FrSky RXSR receiver, and the back on my naked GoPro is a 2 to 4S input, so direct 6S input to a naked GoPro would blow the board, but on the other hand 5 volt might not be enough. There is, I believe, a VTX regulator on there, and I think it's 9 volt. I'd have to take all of this apart to do that, but I kind of want to. The 9 volt is there, and the ground is there. Not labeled. I mean, if you are providing this, I would say, come on, at least have these linked up, because we're going to be using it like that. That's where it's connected up for an RXSR receiver. Okay, 9 volt ground, proper connector for naked GoPro, and removes the receiver wire. Okay, let's go for a line of sight flight with this guy. The sun has come out. This thing looks so evil. I love it. It's so mean looking. Okay, let's see how much power it's got. It's very quiet. Barely hear it over the wind. Let's go full throttle. What? Oh my! That is evil! That's proper evil! That is insane. So this is the 650 milliamp 6S. I went straight for the XT60. I haven't put the braces on, but you know what? If this flies nice FPV, this could be a legit freestyle copter. Its only weakness is going to be how weak the arms are in a crash, and if you stick those braces on, then it might strengthen it up. I mean, the thing's very light anyways. I think I just weighed it at 390 grams, all at weight, with a GoPro Hero 7 light, of course. But man, that was unheard of, especially for, you know, freestyle. I'm not hearing any oscillations. So it's fine with this battery on this tune, and we should get a decent flight time. Of course, the more throttle you give it, the less flight time you'll get. But yeah, this battery actually suits the size of it. If you look at it, I mean, 650 milliamp is still a big battery on 6S. And it looks daft with anything bigger, really. And I like how I can mount it side on, so I can get the center of gravity nice. Oh man, I'm really liking this. Got the LED on the buzzer underneath, flashing. Not sure if that's going to come through. Not sure what it's about, but I am liking this already, man. I am liking it. Shame they didn't shield the GPS. It is something you can do yourself. It's getting knocked by the wind a little bit. That power though, man, I can't believe that. I guess it's just so lightweight that, you know, with these bigger motors than before, it just disappears. Oh, it's so violent. Probably doesn't look it on this wide angle camera on my head, but wow. Wow. Been a while since seen that much power. It surprised me, that. Didn't think it was going to have that. Feels nimble. Oh, I love flying line of sight, man. I love it, I love it. And because it's got, you know, decent flight time, big battery, I can fly this thing line of sight all day if I want to. Yeah, boy. It loses its angle a little bit in the loop, which is strange. That might be the dead cat configuration sort of knocking it out, but I can compensate for it. The wind's knocking it as well, of course. Oh man, it's meant to be like a you know, a relaxed flyer, and all I want to do is rag the nuts off it. Well, it's past the line of sight test. So now it's just got to pass the FPV test. Okay, let's go for a takeoff with this guy. The sun is still out. Whoa! No jello. Excellent. The props are slightly in shot, but not bad at all. And hopefully the GoPro shouldn't have the props in shot. So much power. Oh, but with that comes a bit of a voltage sag. Did I see that go into the 21s there? Need to be careful then. Yeah, 21 is, well, it's killing this battery, isn't it? I wanted to fly this around, really, like, you know, see how much flight time I could get out of it, but it just wants to be abused, and I want to abuse it. Oh, the wind's pushing us a bit. Wow. This is a nice quad. I'm showing 0 satellites. I thought that would be the case. I knew it would be the case. So I just took off straight away. I mean, you're supposed to wait. Oh, this tune is really nice on this battery. Yeah, you're supposed to wait a few minutes, maybe even up to 20 minutes before you'll get satellites, but it's currently saying 0, and I have a feeling it's going to say 0 for quite some time. Oh man, this is awesome. 23 volts, 22 volts already though. We're only 2 minutes in. Need to calm down, calm down. See, I can't do long range here, and I have to look out because we have got all of these COVID exercises. That's about 200 meters from where I am. But if you want to see how far these things can go, then go and check out my Chimera review, and I think also the LR4 review as well. I was at my other field there, but you know, we've got a lot of houses and stuff around here, and the community around here, they're good enough to give me permission to fly here, so no, don't want to push it really. Ah, oh, so snappy. What's the voltage? 22.5, 3 minutes. It's going to be like a normal 5-minute flight time. I don't care though. I think, you know, you want to stick a bigger battery on this now. Yeah, maybe like, I don't know, 1050. If you want the long range, then you can get it because the thing is so lightweight. But it just wants to be absolutely ragged, and the tune is perfect. The tune is perfect for this battery. Oh, 21 point something already. Come on, let's calm it down a bit. Let's calm it down a bit now. We've had a fun. The sun's got it. Yeah, I'm really impressed with how there's no jello on this camera, because it is just mounted in TPU, and that's usually wrong. But you know, if it's stiff TPU, then it can do, you know, it can do a good job. So really impressed with that. I have a feeling this might end up being one of my favorite models, you know. Need to investigate getting that GPS working, because although I don't use GPS rescue, I don't think it's accurate enough. I think you've got more chance, or should I say a 50-50 chance of it just flying away when using it. But oh man, yeah, 21.9, 22 again. We're in a 4.5 minute flight time. I think we're going to be looking at a 5 minute flight time with this battery, and then maybe a 6 to 7 minute just you know, pottering around like this, but that would make a boring video anyways, wouldn't it? We want to be doing freestyle and stuff. This is going to be superb for chasing planes with at my other field. We've got some cool planes coming up. We've got a Hawk. It's a T-45 EDF. That's going to be awesome. And in just a week's time, we'll be able to go to that field again. COVID protocols currently state that, you know, we can't have our flying field open, and this is a public place. Look at that though, just hovering at 21 volts. I think it's 21.7. We should be calling it quits with it. But yeah, to summarize, like the tune and like how the camera performs, just like the entire quadcopter. I wish it came with that connector already connected for your naked GoPro, but it was easy to take the top plate off. I have to say, it was easy. And imagine this with dual blades, man. Dual blades might make it a bit more of a jello machine. I'm gonna have to plan this. 21.7. We have got some people coming down here, so I'm just gonna keep it around here. 21.7 is where you want to be landing on 6S, but look, it goes up. It goes up when you're hovering about the place. So I do really want to be landing soon, but part of me also wants to see what flight time I can get. I like this battery though. Don't want to destroy it. I can still get through the trees with a 5-inch. 21.6. 6-minute flight time, man. So there you go. That is my review of this model. I absolutely love it. I'll put a link in the video description if you wish to get one, as well as a pinned comment. And as always, thanks so much for watching. Please continue to subscribe. Cheers!